Hello there. My name is Eric the Dadalorian, and welcome to the second episode of Sith Happens, the Star Wars podcast. I am joined by my trusty counterpart, my co-pilot, the scruffy-looking nerf herder that he is, Matty Ice.
Hello there. My name is Matt, and I'm really excited again to join my dear friend Eric on this podcast, Sith Happens. I know Eric for a long time. The way we met is we moderate an awesome Facebook group that everybody should join. It is Star Wars, the Black Series Collectors. That's Star Wars, the Black Series Collectors.
Absolutely, man. And we have a lot to unpack this week, realistically. There was a ton that happened between first three episodes of the Bad Batch coming out. We had some rumors on some Star Wars shows coming out. As well as that, we actually had some video game news, which we're going to get into all of that here pretty soon. But before we do that, we have the ad portion of your program. We want to thank those of you joining us today and appreciate you listening to us on Spotify, Amazon Music, or YouTube. This is where I would shout out our donors and our sponsors. But we actually don't have any of those yet. We're totally self-reliant. But if you like this program and you want to help out our future podcasts and our upcoming giveaways, we now have a Ko-Fi on our link tree, which is in our Instagram bio at Sith Happens _Star Wars podcast. Or you can follow https://linktr.ee/Sith Happens Star Wars podcast. Anyone who donates will receive a shout out on our podcast with the social media tag that you provide. So thank you. And our direct line to Ko-Fi is https://ko-fi.com/the_Dadalorian_. Now that we're out of that, let's get into the fun stuff, bro.
But yeah, everybody, absolutely. If you can help us out, we'd love it. It goes towards the podcast. We're going to leave that in the podcast. And all I'll say is, we'll take your money. Remember, galactic credits are no good here.
No calamari flan. But aside from that,
credits will do just fine.
Yeah, man. So, but we got so much to talk about, man. So, and like really the first thing we got to talk about is final season of Bad Batch, those first three episodes. I gotta say, straight off of the get-go, I don't think I've watched one of the animated series where like the first release of it hit like that.
Absolutely. It was amazing. I can't and that first episode too, Andor vibes with with Narcana. Oh, so good.
Out of all three of those episodes, it had some dark vibes to it, and I loved it because I love that kind of stuff. But I think one of the things I noticed about it that differed so much from the other Bad Batch releases, particularly, was they didn't dive into like any of those side quest type of things really into it. Like, and I don't mind that in the Bad Batch. I know some people kind of get a little iffy about it sometimes. But I like this one just went straight into it was all the main storyline, none of that side stuff. And I mean, it all hit like that stuff. It was some wild episodes. Episode 2 is going to give me nightmares for the next couple of weeks still. So
I mean, like it's funny. Like I feel like episode 2, and again, I don't dislike the side episodes at all. I think they always have a little bit of character development. I like that episode 2 kind of started as a side episode. And then after like you got kind of in it, you're like, no, this is driving the plot. I'm into it. Yeah. Like it's just like I feel like last season when you watched the premiere, right? Those first 2 episodes, you're like, oh, they've upped their game. Animation, which was already great, looked crisper, and it just felt more like what you were looking for. And this just took that to the next level. Like I watched it first thing yesterday morning because where we moderate the page, people post spoilers. So I was like, I got to get ahead of this because when I'm booting people for spoilers, I don't want it to spoil it for me. And then I had to work right after. Like I woke up early to watch it, and I was like, "How the fuck am I supposed to work now?" Like, I always fiddle with my action figures like under my camera on my desk when I'm on calls, and like I immediately went to my storage in my closet and just took down the Bad Batch bucket, and I'm replacing my back shelf with those guys this week. But it was just like during work, just crosshair all fucking day. Crosshair.
That's so my Bad Batch collection of the Black Series is actually one hanging right over the TV where I watch it and everything. So I'm just sitting up there. One, I get a little tear every time I look at Tick, but that's last season. But no, man, just going through it, episode 1, it opened and it really it gave a weird vibe. Like it just kind of went into the monotony of like every day of what Omega has been dealing with since she got taken to Mount Tannis. And we see more of Emery too, which that bombshell that dropped at the end of season 2, about being, spoiler alert, being her sister. Um, it was interesting, and seeing her working with Nalase, it was very interesting, and you could tell she spent a long time there. Like
Yeah.
she's checking the doing the ticks on the wall. She's got she got a new look to her and everything. So she's been there a hot minute now, and she never gave up on it. Realistically, she was seeing Crosshair every day, and they were still planning their escape. I thought it was a really good opening because it didn't jump into just straight some crazy action. It really was just like she is a prisoner right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the really cool thing about that opening was did not jump into straight action, but it was compelling.
Very,
The repetition in it and all of that, like yes, on the one hand, it's like, well, there was no action there really, but you were really in it. Like I think had it been a standalone, I would not have been as satisfied,
yeah,
but I still would have been like, you know, 8 out of 10 vibes, which is kind of what I give it.
yeah,
But at the same time, like it connecting to the other two, it's like what I love is when they do these weeks on Bad Batch where they like connect a couple episodes. It always just feels like it's such a cohesive thing, and like it was awesome. And I'll also say like I love what they're doing with Nalase.
dude, I
Bring
love it.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's given a character to the Kaminoans that we really have not seen in any
yeah.
of Star Wars yet. Like we saw some of it in the first 2 seasons of Bad Batch, but nothing to the level that we're seeing right now with Nala Se, because she is actively doing what she can to protect Omega, with the blood tests and everything, that they're doing to mix to try to figure out the midichlorian count and everything like that. So, and I tell you what, I am very interested to see like what makes Omega so special as far as this midichlorian count thing.
Absolutely. And like the thing about that too though is you got some decent amount of LSA in Clone Wars, right? With like
Yeah,
the Fives episodes. But she was like a businesswoman. You know, it's like
yeah,
kind of like this is the deal I made. But there was some depth to it, I feel. But I don't think until I went back after watching Bad Batch to some of those Clone Wars episodes that like, and it might have been me projecting, right? That I was like, oh, there's some shades of humanity to it. But yeah, and I mean, I'm really excited about the M count thing. And I think what's cool about this overall, right? I know we're going to go episode by episode,
yep.
is Project Necromancer. Because, like, and you and I have talked about this, we're not sequels haters, right?
No, not
And
by
I
any
think
means.
what all the media has done that's really nice is fill in some of those gaps in a really nice
Yeah,
way. And I feel like we're driving towards a fill in there. Like, even I know you're not a comics guy, I'm a comics guy. In the Darth Vader comics, he uncovers Exegol. And you find out how they
yeah,
got all those crystals to make the Death Star lasers, and that it's like on, you know, on a Kyber nest, and he was
yeah,
torturing them for like 60 years to get there and everything. So I love that this is kind of driving towards not only filling in the sequels, but also connecting to Mandalorian. It's that thread that Filoni loves that like
yeah.
keeps coming back that I can't get enough of.
I
And
was I was gonna
go on.
say I was thinking about it today, and it really, the thing I think everyone hated the most about Rise of Skywalker, right, is somehow Palpatine returned. It's filling in that gap, like it's filling in like the whole like okay, yeah, he just returned. Like it's giving you the story of how he returned now.
Yeah. And I'm going to go hot take and make our podcast canceled by a lot of people. Fuck being mad at that. Okay. As
I
someone
don't disagree.
as someone who read the expanded universe stuff for years, like Legends, someone who my first exposure to expanded universe was the first expanded universe, Dark Empire. Really go back and read, or go to Wikipedia and read what happened in all those expanded universe books. It is batshit crazy and contradicts itself 24/7, and often doesn't feel like Star Wars. Like it drifts into these like weird monster things and like gets too heavy and not in like a Star Wars way now. So anybody that's like mad at that, it's like I understand that you're upset they discontinued what you think of, like what you devoted your Bible essentially, but there's a lot of flaws in that movie. That is absolutely kind of one of them. But if you can't just buy in and move along with that, knowing if you love Legends, They were like 4 clones of the Emperor in like 3 Dark Empire volumes. Like
Dead ass.
as ridiculous. Fill in the gaps, guys. Like it's Star Wars. It's about space wizards. Just go along for the ride. There's a lot of good in that movie and a lot of bad. Yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I've always said, there are Star Wars movies and stuff that I'm like, all right, not my favorite. I can't say there's Star Wars that I really hate or that don't enjoy. Like, bad Star Wars is better than no Star Wars. It's the way I look at it. So,
I feel the same. The one thing I will say that I can't stand, it's the only thing that took me forever to finish, was Resistance. For whatever reason, I tried to watch that 11 times and it just like didn't register. I know it's Filoni, it's a cartoon. And my friend was like, why are you on like your like eighth time trying to get through the show? And I was like, well, I need to know what happens for the history. He's like, can't you Wikipedia it? And I'm like, that's cheating. Like I need to experience it. And at the end, it came together okay. It just is the only thing that couldn't ever engage me for the ride.
if it makes you feel any better, I actually have not even seen it yet myself, just
Don't
because it.
just don't Wikipedia it. I
That's kind of the
promise.
way. That's
Don't,
kind of what
yeah.
I've heard. So I was like, you know what? Maybe if I get sick or something, I'm in bed for like 4 or 5 days. Okay, but
Yeah, we always
um,
say if you don't want spoilers, the show is not for you. So all it is some guys uncover the First Order. That's it.
fair enough. So
There's some side battles. Doesn't matter. It's really aimed at kids almost too much.
yeah.
Don't bother. Anyway,
But
sorry,
anyways,
Filoni.
back to Bad Batch, man. So,
Yeah,
overall, I thought the first episode was absolutely shit hot. Loved it. I think you said 8 out of 10, and I would go right on par with that. I would say
yeah.
give it an 8 out of 10 as well. Loved it. Really
Question
can't
for
say
you
anything
there.
else.
Question for you there. Do you feel you're 8 out of 10 because you saw the third episode, or do you feel you were 8 out of 10 when you got done with the first episode? So I feel like I might have gone a little lower. I know I said that I would have without, but now that
I
I'm
was about to
thinking
say the
about it,
same thing.
yeah, like it's literally like, yeah, those two just awesome bookends to a first
the
week.
the 3 episodes coming out like that, I think, really built up a good story, because you saw Omega, what's happening with her. You saw Wrecker and Hunter and where they're at now, and then you also see Crosshair and like kind of where he's at now. So it's a really like an all inclusive. Like if it was single episodes week by week, it probably would have gone a little bit lower that first episode. But I think the way they tied it together with all 3 episodes, perfect.
And I love what you said about Crosshair, like with Omega, with Omega never giving up on him, right? And all the time she's been there. Because if you think about his arc and his like the conflict within him, right? You go back to the end of the first season of Bad Batch when he
Hmm.
tells them that he took his chip out, and they were like, "Well, why do you kind of hate us?" And he goes, "You never came back for me." And
Yeah,
like that cuts deep and really shows you his character. And like I always felt like he wasn't all that bad anyway. He's my favorite Bad
yeah.
Batch character, by the way, hands down. But so her going back to him every day is him begrudgingly starting to accept the family element that he feels he lost. And I love that touch.
No lie, and I think you've seen it this whole time throughout Bad Batch 2. She always refers to them as her brothers, even after all the shit that he's done. She still calls him brother, and I think I love that about it. Honestly, I really really do. So
She's one of the first characters I think that's ever come in as the child character, as like our eyes. And that's
mhm.
every Star Wars, right? It's poetry, it rhymes. That everybody I know did not dislike that character at the outset. Like, I didn't start Clone Wars at the beginning, but I know there was so much Ahsoka hate until people were like, oh, she's actually awesome.
Yeah,
Ezra, kind of a pain in the ass at the beginning. I liked him. There's that element of like, you can't count Grogu because that baby Yoda shit. But I'm saying like, she's the first child character in one of these things that I feel like everybody was like, I'm on board. Yeah, she's great. And I love that about that character too.
for sure. Now getting into the second episode, which I swear to you is going to haunt my nightmares for probably the next few weeks. So, we see the Hunter and Wrecker kind of like getting involved with the syndicates, trying to find out where she is, and it leads them to I can't remember the name of the planet, but it leads them to this old Imperial site
It's the
where they
Deveronians. Oh, sorry. I thought you were saying the beginning of the episode. Go on, my bad.
no the planet where they ended up at. Sorry,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
But yeah, so they got involved with the syndicates, got the location. It ends up being that old ass Imperial base, and they find these young clones there that they had been doing experiments on and shit already. And it was Hemlock who was there, and you see it, and it gave a weird vibe, like the vines already, like it kind of just looked a little bit weird. And then when they got inside and it really took the horror movie vibe, like
Yes.
I'm an outdoorsy person, bro. Like I love hiking and stuff, but I'll tell you what, I'm not gonna look at vines and shit the same for a while.
Very John Carpenter's The Thing is what I
Oh
felt
my
about it.
god, yeah, with
Like
the
very
things running around.
yeah, like very like that creepy element. I had a really funny thought when I was watching it. Like they're all on this planet, the Empire built. It's like its
Mhm.
own ecosystem, and that thing is just living on that planet, and like they blew it up. Like what does that thing think, right? Like it's like these fucking guys, and then like you know what I mean? Like it disrupted its day, and I was just like it was kind of funny. I don't have empathy for the scary thing, but it's just I thought that was really funny. But I think one of the things I loved the most about the episode was when you first see Hunta and Rekka. I'll stop doing that now. Their armor is so much more scuffed up than
Oh,
when we
it's
last saw
beat
them,
to
and it's the
hell.
hash marks on the wall. It's the time and the repetition of the first episode. They've been going through it, doing these
Oh yeah.
missions to hunt for her, and I love that about it. Like it was like the first thing that grabbed me. And then the other thing was I love that they brought back that Deveronian with the broken horn and like tossed
Yep.
him his horn to continue that. My issue with him is that episode he was in the first season should have been like 5 episodes before it happened, but it's still a good episode. It was just like they had all this momentum. They were like, let's do a side hustle. And it was like, I like the side hustles, but we were past that. But I love
Yeah.
that opening, and I love we're going to get into it this season. Filoni is going to bring these characters back throughout the
Yeah.
season. And, you know, like Rebels did it, tying it all up and moving it forward. And I'm
No,
stoked.
no doubt. Honestly, the thing with the armor, I think, could not be more spot on either. Like, like when you first see them walk in, you're just like, "Yo, these dudes been through the ringer, man. Like they've gotten their ass kicked trying to find her right now." So, like, yeah, and when you remember back to the trailers too, like, I don't know if it's flashbacks or if they're gonna go back to their OG armor. They do have like their original Batcher armor, so I'm curious to see how that kind of pans out. Because
I think
if
you're
I
talking. Sorry, go on.
I was gonna say, I think the way I think it's gonna go is I think they basically fix up the armor and it goes back to the OG, but I could be wrong about that one.
No, I'm with you. I think that's like getting towards the end. Even like when
Yeah.
you watch that trailer, when he's like, "When have we ever followed orders?"
Hmm.
You can see Crosshair's rifle next to him. Like I
Yeah.
think that's it. There's going to be a moment at the end. It's the big battle. You know, we'll see who makes it out. My vote is most of them die and Omega lives. I'm like hands down Omega lives, and then I'm like they're going to end up on that island planet. Whoever is left alive, and that's why you never really see them again. But I think
Yeah.
that's going to be it. You're going to have a moment. They strap in, walk through a door, and it's like da 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 da, da and then everybody cries. And that's they did it in the first season when you saw the mirrors with Crosshair, and then all of a sudden they're
Yeah.
fighting together. And they play that music cue, and you're like, "Fuck you, Dave Filoni."
Yeah, it's
But
it's
yeah,
it's gonna break my heart. I already know that. So, and I'm curious because we can pretty much we already know there's gonna be some big battle at the end, and I'm curious because this is getting into episode 3 of the season now. Um, but we have seen Scorch so much in these first few episodes,
are
and
you as annoyed as me as they don't name him? Like we all know who he is, and I'm like,
yeah,
just
I
say
am kind of
Scorch.
annoyed.
Go do it. Just say it. I'm cool with it. I know it hurts people. Just say Scorch.
No, so and that's kind of the thing that's weird with it too. So the commandos, they went from being a more independent thinking clone to probably the ones who were the most obedient
Yeah.
after Order 66. And I don't know if it will happen when we see the rest of Delta Squad or not, but I think with Scorch being as involved in just these first 3 episodes, I do think he's going to have a big involvement, and maybe we do see Delta Squad in this. I don't think it's a big possibility, but it would be cool.
I would take it and love it if we saw Delta Squad,
Yeah.
but I kind of love that it's just Scorch. Like, there's this part of me that's like, yeah, he's the one that kind of like they picked, or he's the one that volunteered, or whatever. Like, he's the most violent. And I never played that game, so you may. It's like he just always felt like the big wrecker guy. So to
Yeah.
me, it's like he's the one that trains the Navy SEALs. Like he's the violent one. Ring my
Yeah.
bell. That whole thing. You could
So
tell me I'm totally wrong, but that's kind of my thought on it.
So in that game in Republic Commando, so you got the 4-man squad. You got Boss, who commands the squad. Fixer, who's like kind of like their tech more or less. He's like the kind of the tech savvy one. You got Scorch, which is their demo expert more or less, and then you got Sev, which is kind of like the lone gunslinger sniper type of thing. And in
Mm-hmm.
the game, it's never confirmed he dies, but Sev loses contact with the squad, and then it ends up just being Boss, Fixer, and Scorch there. So I'm wondering, because they talked about doing a Republic Commando 2 and they just never did it, and it was going to tie that all together. So I don't know, maybe this is something that does get tied up into this now.
You got to have the hashtag we want Republic Commando 2. Like, release
you,
the Snyder Cut, release RC2.
I will take
Like,
vacation. I will be ready to download that shit.
I'll
So,
fly to you to play it with you as my first video game I've ever played on a Star Wars video game. So,
no, oh man.
yeah.
So, but yeah. So
Back to the second episode. Sorry about that.
No,
I love our digressions.
Yeah, we get sidetracked a lot. But
It's
no,
fine.
episode 2 was awesome. I give that one. That was a solid. I think you told me yesterday what your rating was, but I give that a solid 7.5.
I think that was my rating when I told you.
Oh, okay.
7.5 makes sense to me. I think it was a side mission, right? But they tied it together
A little bit. It ties it in.
Yeah, it could be like an 8. I don't know. The thing is, like, it's exciting. It's fun. We love the characters. You get to watch them in action, but it would be like an 8 if we didn't have the 2 on either end of it. Like, that really hurts my rating. Yeah.
Yeah, because and leading into it, that the third episode released yesterday. Woo!
Yeah, let's just go into that. 10 out of 10. Don't even bother asking.
10 out of 10,
absolutely,
100%. If I could go higher than a 10, I would, because there is so much that's dropped in that episode that is just absolute game changer. You got Palpatine showing up, Ian McDermott reprising his role and bringing that voice back. I don't think you'll ever get a more iconic voice really in Star Wars than Ian McDermott. And really just that whole episode was just dropping pieces together for what the season's going to entail. You got Emperor Palpatine showing up for all the experiments and everything like that. And then you had Nala Se, who was really finally got kind of caught in her schemes of what she was doing to protect Omega. And she's like, yo, GTFO, like just GTFO now. Like if they see this, it's going to be bad. So I thought it was really, really great. And then the escape with her and Crosshair, top notch.
100%. And what I loved about it was there was so much in it that you didn't think was going to happen this early. And it sets these stakes for later. You're like, well, it's only going to get better. And I mean, like, my favorite, Emperor being there, fantastic, right? Like, we knew he was going to show up from the trailer, but that early and the way they positioned him in Hemlock, fantastic. But I love watching Crosshair, my favorite, murking people. Like, shooting that droid on the walk by. He got 2 headshots on stormtroopers in the escape. And the shaky hand thing, finding out what that's going to be, like, that whole escape was amazing.
That caught me off because I was like, they kind of like alluded to it a little bit, but I was just like, what's up with this?
Yeah, and it's like I think he's degrading from all the like mind changing, right? Like, it could be they're accelerating his degradation. And I think it's just cool, and how it's definitely going to tie in, and his conflict and seeing him kind of accept her and the mission, and that he's kind of going back in on it. And I love why they didn't shoot them down, right? Like, there's always a plot device to get the characters away. And I was like, how are they going to do this? And I kind of knew there's always going to be a MacGuffin to get them out, but it was really cool the way they tied in that first episode with the blood, and oh shit, you got to stop, you can't shoot them. And I love that element of it. Like, it was super cool. And that episode ripped from start to finish. It was like watching the last 2 episodes or 3 episodes of the last season, right? Like, in one episode, like, just amazing. And I don't even know the name of the animal. It's new. Her Breacher, or whatever his name is. Beecher.
The Lurka Wolf, I think it is.
Yeah, I think it was.
The Lurka Hound.
That you knew that was coming back, but
no doubt,
not this soon. I did not expect them to be out this quick, and I love that because now you've got them looking for this planet, Hunter and Wrecker, and the other 2 characters on like a disparate mission, and it's very Hound and Arya Stark vibes. Like,
it really
you know
is,
what I mean?
actually.
Like it's like I would have watched a show about that, and we're kind of gonna get that in this, which I love.
Yeah, no, and honestly, it was. I think the thing that caught me off guard the most with that was just them letting them go like that and not trying to like stop him, because like, he says at the end, he has the whole resources of the Empire to catch her, which I get and everything, but it's like I really thought some more drastic shit was going to happen with that.
I mean, resources of the Empire, explain that one to Palpatine. Like, oh, he figured it out, but he's gone. But I told you I'm going to drop a whammy or 2 on you. Mm-hmm. Here's my question for you.
Okay.
Agent X, whatever they're calling Clone X, the guy in black. I
Yep.
want you to give me your who you think it is, and then your wild card of who it is.
Whew. To tell you the truth, I hadn't even really thought about it that much because it's kind of one of those things where it's like I want the mystery, I want the surprise really. Um if I had to take a guess, like I don't know if it's you can kind of lump this all in one, I really guess, because
Mm-hmm.
I think this is really going to be my only guess with it is with all the experiments they've been doing and how long they've been holding him. I'm wondering if it's like some in like different version of Crosshair because he was the one who was like arguably the
Awesome.
most
That's way better than mine. Yeah.
like if it's like some super obedient version loyal to him, because if you think about it, it's exactly what the Empire wants. This absolutely perfect marksman of a soldier. He was following his orders to the T up until Lieutenant Dickweed pissed him off on the
Admiral Rampart. Oh no,
no
Lieutenant Dickweed. No, yeah,
yeah
no, Dickweed. You and I called him that what, like last week or two?
on
Yeah,
last
Dickweed.
episode, yeah,
I know the guy.
the lieutenant on the ice planet when
Yeah, Colonel
Mayday
Fucktard.
died.
Got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so but if I had to guess, I think that might be it. But I'm curious to hear yours. Who do you think it is?
Okay, well, you just totally screwed me up because now I'm like, let's do that. First and foremost, I think whatever we guess is wrong. Classic Filoni.
Yeah.
But so I'll give you my safe bet, my semi-safe bet, and my wild card.
Okay.
So safe bet could be Tech. I'd hate that because it minimizes his
Hmm.
depth so much. I know there's a lot of rumors about that. It's kind of a safe bet. I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think so.
Semi-safe bet, Cody, reconditioned. Perfect commander, perfect what you're talking about, all that. We
Yeah.
know he went somewhere. My wild card, and this makes no sense.
Okay.
Like, timeline wise, this would be very hard to justify. Gideon. Because he
Oh.
knows all about Project Necromancer. Was he there at the beginning? Is he like a young commando esque, ISB soldier? Like,
That.
what's the deal? But there was just a little part of me that started thinking about it. And I was like, because when he said Necromancer, your first thought is carried through to Gideon, carried through to Rise of Skywalker. Could
Yeah.
it be Gideon? He knows where the bodies are buried in this instance. He's the perfect one to carry this forward. Maybe we see him in a different way. It's like a young Imperial throughout it, but I feel like it would be a miss and not very Star Wars cartoon to not have Gideon in this in some way. And what a cool reveal could that be? But again, I don't really know how they could back into that. That's just like me going, you know what I would like, but they'd really have to justify? It's that one.
Mhm. I think it makes sense to do it because of how much knowledge he had on Project Necromancer. So I think that is definitely a plausible one, to tell you the truth, because I think it lines up too, because with the time of when the batches where the batches are right now to where Moff Gideon would be age wise to the Mandalorian.
Also,
It's a good gap, and I think it about lines up probably from
so
like
yeah,
a young soldier to a seasoned commander.
and we could go look on Wikipedia. By the way, remember I said we're going to debunk one thing each week. I've got my Darksaber one from last week, but anyway, so we can do that later. But
Sure.
like if you think about timeline, let's just guesstimate age, probably like late 50s in Mandalorian. Mandalorian's about 35 years after this, so if you want to
Yeah.
put him at like 27, that works.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my two favorites then are my Gideon wildcard and your assumption that it's like a perfect crosshair. Let's go with those,
That's
and then each week we can
the
say if we
reason
think
I
something different.
yeah, the reason I'm thinking the perfect crosshair is the build was very slender, like crosshair.
Yeah, and the look, the whole thing. By the way,
Go
other
ahead.
sidebar: first time you see Crosshair in his black uniform, I love that it's Hunter's helmet with the antenna. If you go
Yeah,
back and look, it's the commanding helmet. Sorry, go on, but I love that. I just, yeah,
no, for sure, man. So, but yeah, man. So honestly, the first three episodes dropping like that, it could not have been better, in my opinion. Perfect release. Episodes were very good. I am very excited to see what the upcoming weeks hold for us. But at the same time, I'm very sad to see the show ending because I have loved it so much. But overall, very excited.
I'm at
What about yourself?
I'm at peace with it ending. To be honest, I
Yeah.
think when you think about British shows, right, they're always like 6 episodes a season, 3 to 4 seasons because they have an arc.
Yeah.
I think they're telling a really good story of momentum on these characters learning how to not be soldiers and crosshair and showing you the Empire in a certain way while giving you kind of the fun that honestly Star Wars is for kids. Kids deserve on these side
Yeah.
missions. And this show specifically with all the side missions, and there really is only so much you can do with the characters, and they did a good job of truncating Tick's arc last season.
Hmm.
And like a lot of those side missions were driven towards that. They've got what they need to close this out and not drag it on. The Clone Wars has the benefit of every Jedi ever that was in that era, introducing all the clones, all these different things. So you can do 7 good seasons, right?
Easily.
Minus the first 1.5 of Clone Wars, which is good. But it goes from like
I get it.
Donald Duck as a doughboy to like a guy in Vietnam going, there were children in that hut. But but yeah, I think they've done a good job of getting us to where they need to get us to the end. And if some characters survive, they can bring them back in other media. But I think let's tie this up in a bow and get there. And I have the utmost confidence that we'll be crying when we talk about it when we do the cast for the last episode.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, just let it happen.
It's going to be a heartbreaker, no doubt. Like,
oh yeah, no gut punch.
like, because you think about it too, like the way Clone Wars ended, bro. I can't hear that song and not start to like get emotional. Honestly.
I have like something we'll cover like favorite moments in Star Wars and shit in another podcast. But for me, episodes like the last 4 of Clone Wars, I hold in such high regard that I won't watch them unless I really want to watch them because I don't want to ever not be that gut punched when I watch something. And the last time I watched them was when I got my Mandalorian Maul figure when that came out, like the Mandalore Maul. And my wife and I watched it, and I was just crying because Star Wars always makes me cry. And I was just like, they were brothers. And then I did my whole favorite thing I read on the internet. I won't steal it. It's like Darth Vader didn't go to look for Ahsoka. Anakin Skywalker did. It even gives me the chills to say it. It's like my favorite thing.
God, that hits.
Yeah, you can't let these episodes get desensitized for you. Plenty of fun episodes to watch. Stuff like this, Tech's death, right? Stuff like my favorite moment in Star Wars, which happens in Rebels, and we'll talk about that another time. And then stuff like the last 4 episodes of the Clone Wars. Like we're going to get something like that, and it's important to hold those dear and not like burn them out in your mind, in my opinion, at least.
No, I could not agree more. There's definitely going to be an emotional end to this. There's no doubt about that. So, but in addition to what we got to watch this week with Bad Batch, right? We had 2 big pieces of news come out. The first one we're going to cover, and I think probably the one that I am most anticipating for this year, I think, is the Acolyte got a rumored release date, basically.
Finally.
Yeah, so I'm excited for this, man, because I am just getting into the High Republic era, honestly. Like, I just started the Light of the Jedi book pretty recently, and I'm working through that now. I am so excited to see how this really plays out, honestly, because it's in that era where like there really isn't a ton of strife within the Republic. So, and for this to really be a show, there's going to be something coming in that causes the strife, and I don't know what it's going to be. Like I don't, and nobody really does. They haven't released a trailer. They've released like just a tiny synopsis on it, but it was like very, very, very brief at best, honestly.
Well, they have that grainy trailer from Star Wars Celebration last year, right? I think. Maybe not. I might have just been Andor and Skeleton Crew. I could be wrong. I mean, for me, it's a blank slate, right? Because I started the books, couldn't get into the books. So here's my thing with Star Wars is like, I always need a guy with a gun. Like, Han Solo is my favorite, right? Like, I love Andor, my Cypher guy with a gun, you know what I mean? Crosshair, the whole deal. So, like, even Old Republic, you got Cartho Nasi, right? It was 2 blasters. But so, like, it was hard for me to get into it. It's a little bit of a blank slate for me. But I will say, for High Republic, and maybe he appears in the show, have you ever read or heard of the Blade, like the Broken Blade and stuff from High Republic?
I don't think so, actually.
It's this guy named Angle Porter who, like, he has a whole weird relationship with another Jedi who, like, they're, like, kindred and connected. And they did a 4-issue series with him. Okay. And now they're going to do a second series in the comics. But he's the coolest. And it got me super into, like, High Republic. And, like, now I'm starting to ingest some stuff like you are. But I'm a blank slate on Acolyte. And I like that it's the tail end of the High Republic, right? And, like, that insidious nature, it sounds like, with the Sith is starting to, like, crawl its way out. And I love that idea that it's, like, that tainted blood that's starting to happen, you know?
Yes, and that was going to be, I think that's one of the things that I was most excited about this, because if you think, 100 years before the episode 100 years before the set of episode 1, right? I'm really wondering, are we going to see any type of are we going to see anything with Plagueis or Plagueis's master, really? Because
Oh,
I don't know what the
Tenebris.
lifespan is on those
It's a
species in
Mun,
Star Wars.
right? Plagueis is a Mun or Moon.
Yes,
Moon.
Mon or Moon.
Banking
I
Clan.
don't know
Yeah.
the specifics on
Banking
how it
Clan.
is.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And then his master, which I can't remember the name of his species. Do you know what off
It's
the top?
the no, it's the Cantina band species.
Yeah, so
It's Tenebris is the character's name. It's like
Tenebrous,
such a
yes.
species that I don't care about. Like, not to be an asshole, but like
No.
they're the
I
Cantina
will
band.
say,
I've never been like
they've
big
done
people.
they've done some fan art on what he would look like as a Sith, and it's actually badass as
Oh
fuck,
no,
though.
it's cool as shit. No, and like I like that they might bring that in, but I also like the idea like Yoda's definitely making an appearance. I mean, he was running shit
Obviously,
then, yeah. But I like the idea of like these new Jedi characters and like that kind of strife. And I always think when I think about High Republic, right? And I've read some content. I've read what happens kind of just for the knowledge of knowing. I always like that. What Luke said in Last Jedi. I know Last Jedi. Fuck all you. The legacy of the Jedi is failure, right?
mm,
And like I think that that's a concept that carries through. Is that like I always think like the two characters that are most what a Jedi should be are Qui Gon and Kanan, right?
I
Because
could not agree more.
they understand the bullshit. Like Qui Gon doesn't want a seat on the council.
No,
Like when you watch the interview with Freddie Prinze where he goes, "There's no great Jedi," and he's like, learned under Filoni, who learned under Lucas, right?
no,
He's right. There's a concept of what a Jedi should be, and you're either going to be light or dark, but you can be a Jedi. It's not gray. You truly understand the teachings, and like I think the folly and what they're going to show is, and maybe we'll get a character that gets it, is this dogmatic. It's Obi-Wan's downfall. This dogmatic, following of the Jedi doctrine
yeah,
is what brings them down. And I'm hoping we get to see more of that, just like we did in the prequels and in Clone Wars and all of that as well.
yeah. And I think I do agree. I think we're gonna see that right there, where like this very impractical view on Jedi teachings, it's like it starts taking over, really, and it causes what the Republic becomes, falling into all the failures that the Republic has, leading to the Clone Wars and eventually the takeover of the Empire.
Yeah, I mean, in
So,
the end, what he did sucked, but prior to becoming a Sith, Dooku had a point. Like
oh,
that's
no
true.
doubt.
Like he totally had a point, and I think that's really important.
Tales of the Jedi gave him
Oh,
so much depth.
yeah, and like it was funny. We were watching it, and like when I watched it, and I was like, "Yeah, Dooku has a point," and it shows you like why he never had yellow eyes. He's not like
Yeah,
fully a Sith; it's a means to an end. Like if you think about the war, right? It's the Trade Federation is not wrong. It's like no taxation without representation.
yeah,
They were being moved by these evil guys and picked the wrong generals and everything, but like it's the equivalent of like, do you let this Galactic Republic do everything and push you over, or no taxation without representation? So Dooku had a point, and I think I'd love to see a character like him in Acolyte.
no doubt, man. So I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be great. I'm excited to see really what it holds. The director, I can't remember his full name, but I know he did like a couple big movies, and it's going to be pretty solid.
Yeah,
They got a good score on it too. Like I'm a big music guy.
same.
I think he did the same. I think the guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I think he did the same stuff like Get Out and a couple others. And like I'm really big into those like high speed like kind of music
Like
like that, especially for like those types of like if it's going to be like a very thriller and action based type thing. So I think it's going to be pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, and like honestly speaking, with like what you were saying, I remember everybody was mad that the showrunner said they had half a room of Star Wars fans in the writers' room and half a room of not Star Wars fans, and I think that's great
Yeah,
because they will bring ideas that somebody who's like again like a Jedi, dogmatic and doctrine about Star Wars wouldn't think of. So I have very high hopes for it. I think more than even I have for Skeleton Crew because I think
yeah.
it has the potential to be something really different and exciting.
That's I think what's going to make it stand out. Honestly, we've been
Yeah,
in the Skywalker era for so long now, and as much as I can say I love every bit of it, I do want to see more of it out there. I hope one day we get to see the Old Republic, but that is a
It'll
a
happen.
completely different podcast that will do that one.
Yeah, we'll
So,
talk about Dawn of the Jedi then too. But yeah, I know we're crushing time here. You want to jump into what you're the second most excited about the game?
yes, and honestly, so anybody else out there who's watching this, you probably have seen the news on one of our feeds. But we just got the news of Star Wars Battlefront, the Battlefront and Battlefront 2, the classic one from the PlayStation 2 era, getting re-released on all platforms actually. PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, and on PlayStation it's going to be on PS4 and PS5. So I am pumped, man. So like I don't think there was a game I played more than Star Wars Battlefront 2. Like the newer ones are great. The graphics look cool. I still love playing it, but that game, that I can't tell you the amount of hours I put into playing Galactic Conquest on that game, dude. Like absolute, like I am so excited, man. Like and the fact, so it comes with so much in it now too. 64 player online gaming, and they're adding in new heroes in it too, and they've already listed that they'll have Kit Fisto and Asajj Ventress, and I think they're gonna have some more in there as well.
I'm gonna be real with you. I've never played that game in my entire life.
Are you
So
shitting me?
yeah, so here's the deal. I'm not a gamer, but I watch on the new stuff because it's canon, the cutscenes. So I can tell you anything you want to know about like Battlefront 2, like the current, the newest one. Well, not that, the old one, but
Yeah.
that whole plot line, all of it, like Inversia, all of it. I love. I didn't whatever. I love the Survivor games, right, or Fallen Order games. Like
Hmm.
I've watched every cutscene. I wait the day it comes out till somebody's like beating it and recorded them. But I never got super into the games. I think a part of it is like I have so many hobbies and everything's so expensive, and I got to just stick to action figures right now. And my wife and I once discussed getting a system when the Harry Potter game came out for her, and we were like, no, then we'll literally never leave our house. So, but yeah, man, I'm pumped, and like learning about it through you and the people that are passionate about it always makes me really excited. And who knows, maybe I'll buckle down around the holidays and actually grab a system. But
You could get a PS4 for pretty cheap nowadays, since it'll be on PS4. So I would recommend it, especially because it's got a lot of great things in there. Like it's got the OG Dark Trooper in there, the Galactic Marines and everything. Like it's just a great game. Even if you don't do the online player and you do the campaign, it plays through all of it. Where the start of the Clone Wars, going all the way through that up until Order 66, where you actually like, 'cause it's the journals of the 501st is what the
yeah,
campaign is. So it's damn good, man, and I'd recommend it. So
I mean, I did. I'm lying. I did play Shadows of the Empire, and Dark Forces back in the day. So I'm Kyle
dude,
Katarn
I
and
would,
Trendar for life.
I was about to say, man, I would kill for a remake, not a re-release, but like a remake and of Shadows of the Empire
Oh,
coming out.
100%. And I mean, like, my two dream gaming greats figures are Kyle Katarn and Dash Rendar. Like, I'll
No.
buy two of them, one for my shelf and one for myself. You know what I mean? Like, that's like, yeah, totally.
Nice, man. So, well, man, they'll think really the only other thing that I wanted to cover. So this is going to be something you can go to, unfortunately. But for those of you watching out here who might be in the local area, this upcoming weekend, I actually got a great event that's going to be going on, over in Pensacola, Florida. We have something called Pensacon. Big Comic Con convention, probably one of the biggest ones out here on the Panhandle in Florida. And we got a lot of great Star Wars guests coming out there. I know I'm particularly excited because just to name off a few of the people who are coming to this one, we got Ashley Eckstein, the Ahsoka voice actor, Brian Herring, who was the BB-8 puppeteer, Chris Bartlett, who played Zero in Mandalorian, Matt Lucas, who did the 03 to 05 Clone Wars series, and he voiced Anakin. Got Michael Carter, who was actually the original Bib Fortuna in the Return of the Jedi. And then there's actually a slew of other people on there as well. So there's going to be a lot of great Star Wars actors out there, and I'm actually very excited to get out there, get some autographs. I'm taking my daughter out there, so I took a little picture of us, which I'll put up right here. It's going to be
That's
so I
great.
found me. It's me and my daughter going as Darth Nihilus and Princess Leia. So the princess and the planet eater, so to say. So,
That should be
um,
I told you that should be the name of an episode of a show. But
it
I love
probably
that. Yeah.
should. So, but no, that's coming up in my area, and I'm pretty excited about that. If you guys are headed out there and you see me, by all means, come up, say hi, hang out for a little bit, take pictures, whatever. I'll be happy to hang out with you guys and talk to you. So, but as far as today goes, I think that really wraps it up. So,
Wait, wait, wait,
um,
wait. I got to
oh,
do my debunk. I got to do my debunk. Remember last
Okay.
week I
Okay.
said
Yeah.
the
Sorry.
sound
My
I
bad.
said the
My bad.
sound of the dark saber is an inverse sound of a lightsaber.
Yes.
I did my research. I'm right. There's some other
God damn it.
distortion going in on there, but the bass sound is that. Yeah. Okay, do whatever
I
you're
had
gonna
a
do.
I had a feeling you were right on that though. I had a damn good feeling you were right on that because when you said that, I had never heard that shit before. I
It
never
makes
heard that
sense.
shit.
Makes total sense.
But like when I was thinking about it, it's like, all right, I was like hearing it in reverse. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I just
So
needed. We have no debunks this week, so we'll figure one out for next week. But yeah,
we'll work on
now
that. So
back to you, bud.
all right, I appreciate that. So, but yeah, that really wraps it up for our show today, guys. So once again, those of you who are listening or watching us, whether you're on YouTube, Amazon, Spotify, we really appreciate you guys spending the time with us today. I am Eric, and you can find me at the underscore Dadalorian underscore on Instagram and on TikTok. You can find me at the underscore Dadalorian underscore. And then Matt, let's hear yours.
All right, I am Matt, and my handle is Black Series Daily Desk, one word, and you can find me over at Instagram to look at some fun action figure photos I take.
Awesome, man. Any final words for our folks before we sign off here?
All I will say is I appreciate you all. May the force be with you always.
And I'm Dadalorian. This is the way.
Upgrade